The House of Devils marked you as public enemy #1 after you trashed their Prime servitor, but your old friend Sepiks Prime is back. And apparently better than ever, thanks to the Devil Splicers and SIVA. Zavala's not too happy about the idea of the Splicers playing Godmaker, and I can't blame him.
So what you're saying is it's time we return to the scene of the crime. I'm sure the Fallen will be happy to see us.
Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nick. As always, you can call me Tattoo Ninja, and we're once again checking out some early gameplay from Destiny Rise of Iron. This is the Sepiks Perfected Strike. Rise of Iron is going to be released next week on September 20th at 5 AM Eastern Standard Time. I'm personally counting the hours down myself, and this was captured during my time at the Bungie Studios in Seattle. Once again, flights and accommodations were provided by the nice people at Activision, just for transparency's sake, and I will catch back with you guys after the next dialogue scene. Sephiroth!
The new and improved Sepiks is holed up in the Devil's Lair. You know what to do.
Alright, so I've already given you guys my general impressions of what I thought of Rise of Iron after I played the entire campaign mode for it. I didn't go into the extra quest lines just because they weren't available yet.
The Hive are still holding ground in the refinery, but I'm also tracking multiple SIVA energy signatures.
If you want the link to that video, it'll be in the description. It is honestly a very honest impressions of what I thought.
That's new.
I didn't hold anything back. I didn't try to sugarcoat it, anything. Some people liked it. Some people thought I was just being a little bit of a bitch. Whatever. Anyways, so I decided to offer some input, some critiquing, and since this strike is fairly long, unlike a lot of the other strikes in Destiny, you can't really speedrun it just because it has these checkpoint stages. What I decided to do is I would try to be a little bit constructive. We spent like way too long just shooting at these red things because they were new and red and we didn't know what they were for. So in this video, I wanted to offer some constructive criticism. And since I think we're all awaiting the release of Destiny 2 September of next year, 2017, that's my guess when the game's gonna come out. Probably gonna get some hype building up to it in the like 4 months up until release. But I decided what to do in this video. I had never done one of these before. I decided to do a top 5 what I want to see in Destiny 2. So based on all my experiences of playing this game thus far, I said in the previous video, I have over 1,500 hours into Destiny. So I have played a shit ton of it. I have basically, I almost lived and breathed Destiny for at least the first year and a half of the game's release. So I think that I can offer some good ideas of how the franchise can improve itself. So here are my top 5 after I die. Revive me! Guess what? That's stealth revive though. Alright, so coming in at number 5, I would like to see some mini games both in space and the social areas of the game. You spend a lot of time just kind of floating in space with your spaceship, and as of right now, there's really nothing you can do. Basically, your spaceship, no matter like how rare it is or how hard it took to get, it's basically just there for lulz, it's just there for looks and just to show off that I got this cool faction spaceship that took me like 50 levels of the faction to get. So I would actually like them to incorporate some sort of mini games into the loading screens. I actually did some research, and apparently the reason why it's never been done before.
The have a laser grid blocking the way. I should be able to disable it. In the meantime, do not touch the lasers and watch my back.
The reason why you don't see mini games in loading screens is because there is actually a patent on it. So back in the day, like years ago, Bandai filed a patent to allow mini games inside of loading screens. So that's why it's never happened before, just because you get sued if you did so, or you'd have to pay Bandai a chunk of money to use it. So that patent actually expired this year. So now you can actually incorporate mini games into a loading screen and not get destroyed by costs and royalty fees and all that kind of stuff. So an awesome mini game or some sort of mini game to kind of keep you occupied as you're waiting for your raid to start, or your raid buddies to jump in, or your fire teams to squad up. Just something to do, because you do spend a lot of time in the loading screens. And the next thing I would like to see is as well some mini games in the social areas. This is something that Grand Theft Auto did extremely well in Grand Theft Auto 5. In Grand Theft Auto 5, there's so much stuff that you could do. You could play a round of golf, you could play some darts, you can play some checkers, just all in the in-game with your friends. And that's something that I think that would really benefit this game. You could just like go to the reef, or go to the tower, or you go to the Iron Forge, play like a mini game with someone that you've never met before. You give them a quick wave or a quick nod and they follow you to this little section where you can play games against them. It just helps build community and make it so much stronger and better. And just play against like someone from Japan or something. So yeah, that comes in at number 5, mini games in either space or social areas. Coming in at number 4, I would like to finally see some dedicated servers. I know they cost money, but if you think about the amount of money Activision poured, and I mean literally poured gold into making this game, to date, like in all of history, Destiny has been or is the most expensive game to have ever been created, and it has been wildly successful. And they've incorporated things such as microtransactions that people can take it or leave it, but once again, that's still an extra revenue to create more money for the game. And for the dedicated servers, it would just help so much with the stability of the game. It would help especially in Crucible, PvP. It's just something that should just happen. It needs to happen, and it's like the one exotic that the internet has pointed out that they just wish they would have. So coming at number 4, I would like to see some dedicated servers for this game. Moving on to number 3, I would like to see the game's frame rate be boosted up to 60 frames per second to bring it in line with all basically modern day shooters. If you think about it, despite all the PvE stuff that Destiny has, all the stuff, stories, sidelines, and side quests, the game at its core is a shooter. You spend the majority of your time just shooting a bunch of shit. You play in the Crucible, you're shooting a bunch of shit as well, you're shooting other Guardians. So to bring it on up to the standards of a modern day shooter, the game should be 60 frames per second. I perfectly understand why Destiny 1, Year 1 and 2 were not, because the game released on the older generations of consoles, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but if you guys didn't know, Rise of Iron actually requires you to be on a current gen system, either PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Since it is current gen only, there's really no reason, in my opinion, the game should not be 60 FPS, because they have a lot more legroom to work now with the upgraded hardware, and they don't have to worry about catering back to the previous generation of consoles. So coming at number 3, get us that 60 FPS so everything just looks sexy and smooth. Bungie, just give it to me now. 60 FPS, it's gotta happen. Coming in number 2, I want to see more dynamic story gameplay. So this does not include the raids, because the raids have some of the craziest gameplay that you will ever play in a video game. It's super intense, it's difficult when they first come out, it's awesomeness when you squad up with a team of 6 people. I'm talking more of the base storyline that everyone plays, the basic story and strike of Destiny 2 whenever it does come out. I want the gameplay to be more interesting. No matter how you feel about Destiny, whether you hate it, take it, or leave it, no one can argue at its core as a shooter, Destiny feels fantastic to play. The gunplay and the controls just feel awesome, everything's very fluid and intuitive. The problem lies in how the missions were structured. In Year 1 Destiny especially, it got a little bit better with the Taken King. You'll find that most of the story missions as well as the strikes were pretty much the same in terms of how they work, except for maybe the environment or the setting, and once in a while changing up the bosses. So in this case right here, this gigantic tank is pretty much basically a gigantic bullet sponge. And in most cases for all Destiny missions, they're basically attack, defend, clear out entire area, survive a wave, and then the next area will open up to you. You'll meet a mini boss like this spider tank right here. You kill him, then you go through another wave, eventually you'll reach the final boss, who once again was a bullet sponge. And it's kind of funny because the original strike to this, the Devil's Lair, that's basically all it was. It was a gigantic teleporting orb that just went across the map. In this strike, how they adjusted it in for Rise of Iron, how they changed it is now you have captains, fallen captains who have been infected with SIVA, and they'll have the basically reskinned Scorch Cannons that have different elements to it. The only way that you'll be able to do more damage to Sepiks is by using that cannon to tear down the shield, and you basically just pour it on until he rebuilds his shield up in another color. So I think that Bungie really learned this, and with the Taken King, definitely the strikes got a lot better, such as the Darkblade strike, the Echo Chamber strike, as well as the Shield Brothers. There's some really interesting gameplay in those strikes. So I think they heard the community. They didn't just want, people knew that they didn't want bosses with that were just gigantic bullet sponges. So that's something that I really hope they do address. Like, it's at the top, almost the top of what I think. You can have all the technical stuff you want, 60 FPS, dedicated servers, mini games for stuff like that, but the gameplay is what sets apart video games and what makes a good video game good, and what really separates the cream of the crop and makes a video game great. Alright, finally, coming in at number 1, numero uno on the top 5 things that I would like to see in Destiny 2. It is something that is not a secret. Everyone has basically complained about since year 1, since the game launched, and that is a better in-game story. Don't be fooled, there is, if you read all the extra stuff, there are Grimoire cards, you go to Bungie's website, there's actually a lot of cool shit that was left out of the game that's kind of left to the lore, kind of akin to Dark Souls. It's not really, the story's not up in front in your face, you kind of have to go searching for it. But I actually read an interesting article a couple of months ago. It was written by, it was funny enough, it came from Kotaku. I'm not a huge fan of Kotaku's work, but it was actually a well-written article of what Destiny's story was originally supposed to be. And based on the article that I read, is quite lengthy, but it sounded absolutely awesome. I'll link that article in the description. But what happened was, during the development of the game, they actually scrapped the storyline because they thought that it was just too complex. They wanted to make the story as simplistic for filthy casuals as they possibly could. And that's what we got, and everyone absolutely hated it. But if you do get a chance, read the article. It's so crazy what we could have possibly got. But it's not a secret what is the biggest factor of why this game was not really reviewed by journalists or received that well by the public at first. The story really didn't make any sense when you finally completed the last mission in the game. It kind of seemed like it was a piecemeal cut and paste job, a bunch of other stories that didn't really flow that well. You jump from planet to planet not really knowing what to do, and you kind of just was expecting just something to happen as you just went from one section to the next, and you never really got any sort of satisfaction by the end of it. So that's not a surprise. Coming at number 1, I would like to see a better in-game story for Destiny 2. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my top 5 wish list of what I would like to see in Destiny 2. Let me know what you guys think, if I'm off base or something else that I didn't mention that you would like to see. I can't wait to play Rise of Iron just because I'm a huge fan of the series, but once again, I have told you guys that you should cautiously approach it. Don't expect anything new from it. And whenever more Destiny comes out, such as in year 3 or 4 of Destiny, when Destiny 2 rises up, I will definitely be checking that out and playing it. But until then, wishlist is just wishlist. It's up to right now Bungie to listen to the community, take our feedback, do what they want, and hopefully make Destiny 2 the best game that they possibly can. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you enjoyed, drop the video a quick thumbs up, and I shall see you guys next time. Alright, as always, have a fantastic day.
anywhere for Sepiks to run this time. Sepiks was the Splicer's next big play. Present a god for all to worship. Then control the flow of ether to control the house.
I guess they didn't factor us into the plan.
Any wrench we can throw in their works is a good thing. And Guardian, you make one hell of a wrench.